The restaurants you love, the food you crave, and the people that make it all happen. We tell their stories on the Paper Trails podcast with Albemarle Paper Supply.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Paper Trails podcast. I'm your host, Nick Caligaris, and I'm super pumped for episode 11, season 3. Okay, we have Sam at Wentworth and Fenn bakery up here in Camp North End.
Yes.
And so it's not a law firm.
It's not a law firm.
Joke, a little behind the scenes joke. But no, super excited to meet Sam. You know, she, I think it was referred to you, through one of our other podcast guests. And so I'm pumped to get to know you, your story, your background. You've been in business for 7 years. And so just love to tell your story, you know, and if you guys are in the area, stop by Camp North End. I haven't been here in a little while,
It's changed a lot.
It has changed a lot.
For the better.
No, it is amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like, I was here maybe 4 or 5 years ago, 4 years ago, maybe.
You saw all the construction.
Yes, and so anyway, absolutely phenomenal. So Sam, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on and chatting. So let's start with your background, your story. Where are you from? Are you from Charlotte? Are you not? Where are you from?
So I'm originally from Texas,
Okay.
San Antonio. Moved around with my family just a little bit until we landed in Charlotte. I always knew I wanted to do pastry. Maybe at the time, not necessarily open a bakery, but pastry for sure.
Sure.
And
why that? Why you do pastry?
So I either wanted to do art or bake, and which neither one are truly lucrative, let's be honest, but I figured if I was at least a starving artist, because obviously you can integrate art into the pastries. Okay. If I was a starving artist, I could at least eat what I was making, so.
Did somebody inspire you that you knew that you wanted to do art, or you have always been an artistic person?
I was more drawn to abstract expressionism, so big fan of Jackson Pollock, those types of artists, and always just thought it was very interesting how their minds worked when they looked at something and then made this creation, and always loved to bake, and so I was like, I could do that on a cake, why not? So that's where my inspiration came from.
Did you guys come from culinary, anything like that?
No, no one. Like, my sister, hopefully she doesn't watch this, she burns water. My mom was not a good cook. My dad is a decent cook for, just being a home cook, but no one in my family has any culinary background, background.
Okay, so it wasn't like it was inspired through the family?
No, not at all.
Okay. So you grew up in Charlotte, or you just ended up here?
For the most part, grew up down in Waxhaw. Okay. But when it was my time, I was like, if I go to school, like, where do I want to go? And I landed on Johnson & Wales. Okay. And at the time, they were still down in Charleston. Okay. And I was really excited because I love Charleston. It's one of my favorite cities. And I was like, sweet, I'll go down there, get my degree, pastry, blah, blah, blah. But then when it was my time to go, they actually moved up to Charlotte. So I was like, well, might as well just go since it's already here.
So you knew it was going to be pastry, though? Like, you knew.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How did that, you're a sweets person? Like, how did...
I like more of the science behind baking. So sorry. I like more of the science behind baking. Okay. And nothing, like, I love cooking, but just how exact one must be to get the results of pastry. I think it's so interesting. And then also to be able to integrate the art into it, even better.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why is Charleston your favorite city? I haven't been.
Oh,
Sell
gosh.
It to me.
Oh, you need to.
Sell it to me.
Oh, my gosh. Just the history, first and foremost, but just to be able to, like, walk around with a cup of coffee and all the architecture. Oh, they don't make stuff like that anymore, but it's just such a beautiful city. And, like, I've now made friends with a lot of people who live there, but locals are nice. Even people, because it's such a touristy city, everybody's just so nice. Like, it's a fun place to be. There's wonderful food, and the culture down there is just different. It's lovely.
The interesting thing, Sam, is that I didn't realize how much of a foodie city Charleston was until I did the podcast. And then I probably, in my first season, we had 30 episodes, I must have had 8 or 10 of the 30 somehow come through Charleston after school, or they went to school there, and I was like,
it's so good.
I was like, what is happening? Like, how is there so much? And they were like, yeah, like it's kind of like the foodie of the South. Like, you go there, there's top tier, Blackbeard. I mean, just like the whole, I was like, well, I had no idea.
Yeah, and I mean, and Sean brought a lot of that too with him, having his restaurants down there. And so, I mean, chefs like him start to pave the way. And now like Jamie Lynch is down there, and they're, they have Tempest and their concepts, which are starting to sprout up through the South. And it opens the door. Like, nothing against the city of Charlotte. Like, we're trying.
Hey,
trying.
It's getting better. It's getting better.
I think people in Charleston are more apt to try.
Yeah.
And people in Charlotte are just very banked on the familiar.
Gotcha. Favorite restaurant in Charleston?
Oh.
Side question.
I love The Ordinary.
Okay. So check that place out when I go down there.
Great martini.
Okay.
Great food. Everything. Service is wonderful. Restaurant's beautiful.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then food is good. Fig down there is amazing.
Good fig?
Or it's fig, but it's
fig.
Food is good.
Food. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But that restaurant's amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Johnson and Wales closed down in Charleston. Comes up there to Charlotte. You attend Charlotte.
Yeah. I just got my associates.
Okay.
It might have changed, but then it was just a 2-year pastry degree, and then a bachelor's in food service management. And I was like, I can learn that just working in the biz. So
Sure.
I just got my associates, and I've always just wanted to work anyway. So I just hit the ground running.
Cool.
I was already in a bakery prior to even starting school.
Okay.
And I volunteered for a little while. It was called Down Home Baking Company. And then finally, the owner at the time, her name is Chris. I was like, will you just hire me? I just want to do this all the time. And I was there for a few years, and it was amazing. Like, everything was from scratch, all artisan breads.
Wow.
Like, it was a shame that the company's no longer there, but I'm still friends with her, and she still bakes some of her classic stuff. And it's really great because it was such a learning experience. So.
Okay, question. Before you went into school, what are some things that you learned there?
Heavy bread baking, which was nice. I guess the realism of what the industry is, even though it was a bakery and not a restaurant. A lot of kids go into culinary school or pastry school and go, I'm going to be an executive chef as soon as I get out of here. And that's just not, that's not how it is.
Yeah.
You should and must start from the bottom.
Yep.
And work your way up to the top.
Yep.
So I think that's really important.
Yeah, I think the other thing is that, I was talking to somebody just a couple of days ago, and they want to start a catering company, and they're young, or very early 20s, and I was giving them some just advice, like, hey, go work at a couple of,
Absolutely.
And they were like, yeah, we'll see, and I want to get into culinary school. I'm like, yeah, do that, but go work.
Like, get the experience.
Like, go see if you even like it. Like, just
100%.
Go taste it, try it. I don't know. That's advice that I'd give my younger brothers. It's, before you want to go do this, go. I thought I wanted to be an attorney.
Yeah.
And then my parents own restaurants, and I went and worked at my parents' attorney's office during high school, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, no.
And I'm like, I'm glad I didn't go to school and study political science and go down and then find out later that I didn't like it. And so, that's something that I really just, I think it's smart, wise. Like, before you even went to school, you're like, okay, cool. I get a good. It's not the total picture of pastry, but I have an idea of what this is going to be like.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't think. I mean, the industry as a whole is difficult anyway, because it's always evolving, it's always changing, and not just with the food, but like the people that are in the industry. Because I'm still from the time of when chefs did scream and yell at you, and you worked a 16-hour day was normal. There are no breaks. There are no like, everyone's screaming at each other in the kitchen, but at the end of the day, you love each other, and everything's fine at the end of the shift. And it's weird now because everyone wants it, but no one wants to work for it.
Yeah.
No, they want the glory of being a chef. They want the glory of opening the business or working in the restaurant
or
and having
design
the title
or whatever.
And they just don't. They're like, 8 hours, so long, and I'm like, that's a short day. Like, and I'm older now, so I mean, back then I could work 20 hours, sleep an hour, and get back up and want to do it all over again. So.
Yep. Okay, so what are some things that you learned in culinary school? Let's kind of extract, some of that stuff. Was there anything that stands out to you that, like, while you were there, you were like, you know what? Okay, I think this was worth my investment in these couple of years.
It was at least a chance to learn and make a little bit of everything.
Okay.
I mean, in my career, I have not made a bread sculpture or another sugar sculpture, but it was
bread sculpture.
But it was fun to learn how to do it.
Okay.
So at least I can say I've done it once.
Sure.
I learned in pastry school. I absolutely never want to make chocolates. I can, but I hate it.
Why? What is it about that?
It is so messy, and I don't know what it is about me and chocolate. It gets everywhere. And
Do you like chocolate?
I like eating it.
Okay, but just not making it.
Don't like making it. I have a very close friend. His name is Justin, and we actually carry some of his confections here at the bakery because that is not my forte. I won't pretend that it is. And he is so good at it and loves it, and I'm just like, no. That'll be for you. I'll do breads. I'll do cakes.
Love it.
Small pastries. Chocolate's not.
Love it.
My forte.
Okay.
I'm okay to say where I'm not well in areas.
Hey, listen. You know what? That's number one. That's a great humility. I love it. But number two, you know your lane.
Yeah, I do, and I like to stay in my lane.
You know what? Most businesses that I've seen do really well is that we do this. We at our company. We try to get into like seasonings a little bit, and you know how complicated it was, Sam. It was I want Spanish paprika, or I want fine pepper, I want coarse pepper, I want whole pepper, and I'm like, I want white pepper, and I'm like,
just pepper.
I'm a paper guy. I'm not a seasoning guy. And I was like, you know what? My cousin and I decided we can't do this.
Yeah.
Let's stick to what we're good at. I'm a disposable guy. What do you need? You need a to-go box or a dispenser, a hairnet. I got you on all that. I'm not like, and I was like, you know what? Like, it was just a good lesson that we learned, 4 or 5 years ago. I'm like, I'm going to do what I do best.
And I think just another, I guess, words of wisdom to anyone, it's okay to not do it all.
Yes.
It's okay.
Yes.
And you'll be okay, and your business model will be okay, and everything will work out.
Listen, I've learned that firsthand from my parents own like calabash style seafood restaurants, but we have like ribeyes and chicken and a little pasta, and I'm like, Dad, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like, I get it. Maybe in the '90s, that was kind of like the diner kind of family restaurant, homemade scrap, the whole thing. I get it, but I'm like, this menu's big.
Yeah.
Like, let's. Like,
Sometimes just because you can doesn't mean you should. So
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
I say that a lot. I'm like,
I love that.
What am I saying?
You're right. That is your saying. Okay. Quote Sam. All right.
Yes.
All right. So you finished culinary school. What's the first gig that you get? Are you still working at the bakery?
So Chris had to downsize, and it came at a good time.
Okay.
And everything happens for a reason. So she had to let most of us go because she was just kind of getting back to basics and just doing it herself, which was fine.
Sure.
And my internship had come up, and I was like, well, I have to do this anyway. So I ended up interning at the OG Amelie's, which was honestly horrible.
Okay.
Because I did third shift, so I worked 8 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Dang, so they had third shift there?
They were open 24 hours, 365.
Oh, I do remember that. But you guys were baking 24/7? I did not know that.
Yeah, it was. I'm more of a night person, I think, from just working in restaurants.
Sure.
But overnight, no one should do third shift. It's horrible. Like your
body is...
Yeah, everything just is not well because you're sleeping during the day and up all night, and it's just
the sun is out.
And you're like it's not good.
Okay. You were there for how long?
I'm an honest person, so I'll just say it. It was a bad place to work.
Short stint? Okay.
Very short stint. I did my internship, and I got out of there as soon as I could.
What'd you learn?
A lot of what not to do.
Okay.
Not how to treat people.
Okay.
I strive heavily on, like, honest about product, and they weren't.
Sure.
So it wasn't a fit for me.
Gotcha.
And so I got out as soon as I could, and I ended up at something classic. which was a catering company, but they own, like now I think it's, they used to have Fern and Halcyon, and now it's Mariposa, and I think they also own Coquette now.
Okay.
So I did a lot of catering with them.
Okay. What was that like?
Interesting. I've been a different style of pastry chef in a lot of ways, and so I was their cake and cupcake manager because they had a lease on the space in Discovery Place, so it was all themed cakes and cupcakes to the exhibits, which was interesting.
Okay.
I helped them with catering and stuff too, and all the pastry catering orders. And I didn't know I think I was too young to know if I loved it or not, but I was just like, well, it's a job. I'm doing pastry.
Yeah.
But then I just didn't like working in Discovery Place. It was just not for me. And I ended up getting
Discovery Place, like the science thing.
Yeah, it was weird.
I mean, that's an interesting gig to get like cupcake. That's interesting that they landed that job, right?
Yeah, it was weird. Kids would have their birthday parties there, so it'd be like shortcakes and robot cakes and cupcakes to match. And
okay.
It was an interesting.
I can kind of see it now. All right.
Yeah, it was weird, but every step along the way means something, right? But after that, I landed the assistant pastry chef gig at UNCC, which was a part of Compass Group.
Okay.
So I ended up switching over to corporate.
Okay.
And I was there for, I think, about 5 years.
What was that like?
It was a wonderful learning experience.
Okay.
My executive pastry chef at the time, Joe, he now owns Centucci's up in Mooresville.
Okay.
He is the quintessential old school New York pastry chef.
Okay.
Him and I butted heads, but he was probably one of the best chefs I've ever worked for.
Wow.
He taught me speed and how to get stuff like finished and done. And he was like, I did cakes before for sure, but doing stuff with him was like a whole nother ballgame because it was all volume all the time. And so learning how to prioritize, get stuff done. And I mean, we did, for a team of, I think, 4 or 5, we did a massive amount of pastry. And Jasmine from Beyond Amazing Donuts, that's where me and her met. And
really?
So I was the assistant pastry chef, and she was just one of our pastry chefs. But,
that's right. I remember that now.
But it was just a wild time. Like, it was just so much baking because we did all the dining halls, all the sporting events, all the chancellor stuff, any kind of catering on the campus we did. So it was busy. It was very busy.
Well, that's interesting, to get that side of the perspective, like the volume side. I a good friend of mine is the exec over at the Ballantyne Hotel.
I can't imagine.
And he was talking about that versus, he went to the Whitewater Center for a year, and he was talking about like that versus Whitewater Center. One is just strictly volume, get the food out, big events. Ballantyne Hotel is a little different, quality, elegant. I mean, it's take your time. And he was just saying how much he learned in that year.
Oh, I bet.
Now he realized that wasn't for him, but just a learning experience. I was like, you know what? Like, that makes sense. 2 totally different business models, totally different beasts, right?
Yeah.
Anything else? Any other big takeaways? Now, you said Joe was
my...
Any other takeaways from Joe? Like, just how he ran things, how he ran the ship, how he, I don't know. Like,
he was not in the military at all, but it felt very like military-esque how he ran things. Like everything, I loved that everything was a list. Everything was written down. Everything was scheduled at this time, get it done, move on to the next thing, boom, boom, boom. And he ran a very well-oiled machine there when he was there. So it was good for my career to have worked for someone like that.
Yeah.
Because now I implement a lot of those things in how I do stuff now, which is good.
So. I was just going to ask how that has like impacted your business now, seeing that.
I still run things similar, like I make the list every day.
Sure.
And it's very much like get stuff in the oven, start making, slightly start finishing work, and then by the end of the day, you're like starting your prep for the next day so you can come in and bake stuff off and do certain things. And he essentially was like the thing up here where I'm like, oh, how do we need to do the day so that way things get done efficiently in a timely manner. We're making money, but we're also like getting stuff pumped out. Like,
yeah.
So he was a big contributor to how I still do things now.
I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like the other part about that I love, Sam, is that I think even your staff seeing you have lists, have order, it's like less chaotic. They know that there's order. They know that...
Which is important.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Very important.
I feel like a little bit of times when I'm coming in to get an order from a client, a restaurant, a cook, whoever it is, and it's like we're scrambling to get this order because cutoff is at 4 o'clock. I'm like, man, this is stressful.
There's always gonna be, just from working before I had the bakery, sure. And then now there's always that one or two employees where it doesn't matter what you do, they're just not gonna get it.
Yeah.
And you strive to guide them.
Sure.
But for the most part, attitude reflects leadership. And how everyone else operates
sure.
is because of who's in charge.
100%.
And so it, like you said, to have the scheduling, to have people like here, everyone walks in and they're like, I know what to do because there's this, this, and this. Front of house has their stuff, back of house has their list. And for the most part, minus, some uncertain variables,
sure.
things run smoothly.
Which you can't control, yeah.
Which you can't control because sometimes
it happens.
Pardon,
sure.
hits the fan and you're like, oh, crap.
I didn't plan on that breaking today. Yeah. I get it. I understand. But yes, I 1,000,000% believe that. I think even the personality of the owner and the leader
Absolutely.
is reflected, the fun or lack thereof, their structure, their lack thereof, their discipline, whatever, yeah. All that is
Absolutely.
reflected. I love that.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay. All right. So you're UNCC, corporate, Joe, great mentor, discipline, volume. You were there for 4 years?
Yeah, 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the next stop?
I was getting very bored because a lot of it wasn't scratch. Some stuff was, but a lot of it wasn't. And I just, that's not for me.
Sure.
And when I was in school, I was really heavy on plated desserts and I really loved it. And I was like, I think I want to get into more plated dessert, fine dining kind of stuff. And little bips and bops in my career, like I've helped open certain things and I've done catering events with certain people and done little jobs here and there where I'm like, I really do like the fine dining aspect of stuff and the nicer elevated service and whatnot. And back then, Fig Tree was the top tier of all the restaurants, best in the city, X, Y, and Z.
What year is this?
Oh my.
Roughly. I'm just curious, when Fig Tree was
23 or 24 when I started.
Okay.
So almost 10 years ago now.
Okay.
But I...
So 2013, 2014.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay.
My brain's bad. I can't think
that far
back.
I'm just curious. I've only been working in the Charlotte area 6-7 years.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, there was the spot. When was it the spot?
Oh yeah, curious. It was far before Bardot ever came to Charlotte, before Counter was a thing. I don't think there weren't big fine dining places in Charlotte at that time. Okay. But Fig Tree was the top, and I saw they were hiring, and I was like, oh my! I was like, I don't even know if I'm good enough to get a job there. I was like, but I'm gonna try.
Sure.
And obviously, I did end up getting the job there. And that was door flung open to everything that I wanted, which was amazing. Greg and Sarah, who own it. Okay. Sarah, they're married. Sarah is front of house. Greg's back of house executive chef.
Okay.
Both of them are wine encyclopedias. And I love learning about wine, bourbon, all of that. And so to work with them on the wine aspect and learn about that was amazing. Greg gave me free reign on the menu. I got to do anything that I wanted. There were multiple wine dinners, so there was also the chance to expand from my current menu and be more creative. And like I said, Charlotte is very basic and people like what they like.
Yeah.
But for the wine dinners, it was just what we wanted to give them. And so I could be like ultra creative and weird and do weird menu things and put it out there, and people just had to eat it.
Now, you did pastry stuff there? Or, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, all pastry. I was the executive pastry chef there.
Okay, and then also, did you know that you were into wine before that, or did you fall in love with wine maybe with Greg and those guys? Like, you know what I mean?
I was always interested in it and pairing it with certain pastries and food and this, that, and the other, but it like ignited at Fig Tree. And Greg and Sarah were wonderful. They were always like, come out and do tastings when the reps are here. Louis Latour came in and did like a tasting with the whole staff, which Back at House got to be a part of, which was amazing.
That's cool. I like that.
Oh yeah. At one point, which such an amazing trip, Greg and Sarah were like, do you want to go to Napa? And I was like, yeah, I do.
How was that?
Amazing. One of probably the best trips of my life. Like they set up tastings, like we went to Donna, Opus One, Italics, multiple wineries, and just got to learn about everything. And they were like, just come learn, have fun. This is what you get for being a part of the team, which was amazing. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I could never take that experience back.
My cousin works in a gosh, I can't think of the name. My mind's not going there. It's one of like the top steakhouses in New York. Mm-hmm. He's like by far the youngest guy there because like people are there forever.
Yeah.
Because like once you get in, they make all good money. But he went to Napa like 2 weeks ago, and he called me and was like, "You've got like," he was like,
amazing.
That's what he said.
It's just amazing. It's like a whole different world out there.
And he's like traveled, and he's like, "This is probably one of the best trips my wife and I have ever been on." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "I'm not even kidding."
Yeah, it's just like I mean, the wineries are all amazing, and they all have their product, but the hospitality out there is just such a hospitality area.
Really?
Oh my, it's so good. And then of course like the French Laundry is out there, Bouchon's out there, everything is like. Did you go?
French Laundry?
We were supposed to.
Okay.
But that's when the earthquake happened, and they had to like fix what all happened to the wine. And
that's like the spot though, right?
Oh yeah.
Like the French Laundry?
Thomas Keller's one of the best chefs in the world, so it's world renowned. So
okay, gotcha.
It was a bummer we couldn't go, but we still, we went, ate and drank and learned, and it was amazing. So things like that. Fig Tree was one of the best experiences for my career.
That's awesome.
We, me and Greg got nominated for a James Beard Award at the same time, but then also went and cooked at the James Beard House in New York. And so what
was that like?
Phenomenal. It was crazy stressful, but just
how does that work? Like what they nominate you and you go, and how does that work for for someone that hasn't even heard of that?
You don't get nominated and go cook there. I think we just got nominated and the timeline happened. We actually did a charity dinner at the Beard House. We paired up with a winery called Argyle and did a whole, I can't remember, I think it was 8 courses or something to that nature, paired with all of their wines, and it was all charity. So
gotcha.
We gave the money back to the James Beard Foundation, which was nice. But just to be there, and cook, and the guests that were there, and oh my gosh, it was so amazing.
I love that.
Yeah, it was fun.
That. Okay, all right. So where are we at? All right, Fig, you're learning. Greg, Sarah.
Yes.
You were there for how long? A few years?
I think almost 5 years.
Okay.
4 or 5 years.
So you had good back-to-back experiences with Joe, corporate volume, systems, processes.
Yes.
And now you're seeing fine dining,
but
Greg, front of the house, taking care of the people, involved, creative, right? I think that's a good 8 to 10 year run right there, I feel like.
And corporate to literally small business at its core, because Greg and Sarah were the owners, they were there.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, oh, it's this chain of whatever, it was the hub of that. So it was nice to work with them and see how, when you don't have 5 investors, breaking wine glasses is a problem, everything's expensive. Everything means something. Everything needs to be done with intention, because it all matters at the end of the day, because it is very small owned.
Got it.
Now I understand.
Very
heavily. So
yes. Okay. Then after that?
While I was there, my main assistant pastry chef, her name was Mackenzie. Me and her like really built up a really great program there. And then La Belle Helene had opened, and I knew she was hitting her head on the ceiling. And I remember looking at her and I was like, you need to go apply for this or I'm going to, and I'm going to leave you here. And she was like, what? And I was like, you better go apply. And so she applied and she got the executive pastry chef position, which was amazing.
Question real fast. Okay. I feel like sometimes when you have such a good relationship with somebody, and I'm assuming just the work relationship was great. She's finishing what you're doing. It just was Is it some? Because I feel like sometimes it may be hard to do what you did and say, hey, like push somebody because it's so comfortable.
I didn't want her to leave.
Well, and,
absolutely not.
I guess that's why I ask. You know what I'm saying? I mean, somebody may be listening that has that person, and it's like, you know what, like. I love having them, but dang, like they can do more. Like I know they can do more. Yeah. It's like
it's hard. It was hard to push her because the same goes for Mackenzie as it does for my now assistant pastry chef Charlotte. I am only as good as I am because of my team.
Of course.
And Mackenzie and I complemented each other so well. Like I didn't have to say a word to her.
Yes.
We just did.
I love that.
And like even still, like she moved back to Chicago. I still go visit her in Chicago because we're still close. And like even with Charlotte now, I'm only as good as I am because I have her backing me and vice versa.
Sure.
And which I will be devastated the day it happens, but there's going to be a time where she's going to want to go.
Yes.
But my goal, same with Mackenzie as it is with Charlotte, they need to be better than me when they leave because otherwise I didn't do my job.
That's tough though.
It's the worst.
Like it's the
worst.
I feel like that is so...
Because you don't want them to go.
Like easier said than done.
Yeah, because you do, it's hard when you build such a relationship with somebody and literally you get the dance down. Because there have been some people, even here at the bakery, where I'm like, we don't dance well. And that's okay. We just aren't going to mesh, and that's fine. We can just go our separate ways.
That is so crazy.
Yeah.
You just said dance. Season 1, I was interviewing Daniel Wheeler.
I love Daniel.
You know
He's
him?
the best. Yes.
So
him and his wife are amazing.
He described, because working in my dad's kitchen since I was young, expoing in the back, cooking. I did everything there. I still do on the weekends. I help them out. That's the best way to describe working in the kitchen.
Absolutely.
On a Friday, it's literally a dance.
When I worked at Fig Tree, I doubt he's there, but one of the pantry chefs, his name was Jimmy, and he was like my brother from another mother. Me and him, because we were both on, I had to help on Garm, which is like salad station and all that, which was his station, and then he helped me with pastry and plating and all that in the evening for service. But me and him just intertwined.
It's perfect.
Seamless.
Yes.
We had one of the best working relationships I've ever had, and we just didn't have to even speak. It was just like seamless.
Yes, it is a dance. For anybody that has never worked, it doesn't compute. What do you mean? Yeah. Go try, or I don't know. It's anyway. Yeah. Okay, all right. So Mackenzie, you pushed her out,
and then minus the fact that I knew, like, because I had been there for so long, like there's a statute of limitations to what you can do, and I was just getting to the point where I was like, what am I gonna do? Like, because even still, like at the time, like if I moved to another restaurant, it just would have been another lateral move. Still doing plated desserts, still doing the same thing. So there was no reason to move to another fine dining restaurant. I couldn't move away at the time just because of like some family stuff and whatnot. And I was like, well, I do private orders for cakes. I like doing small pastries. I was like, well, I could, I guess, venture into opening a bakery.
Okay.
And I got humbled very quickly on how much things cost.
Okay.
Because it is expensive.
Yes.
And because originally, and one day I will, But originally I wanted to open up a bakery and wine room and have the ability to, bakery like we are now during the day, but then stay open far later, and wine can be paired with pastries, a little more elevated, date night kind of spot, that kind of thing. But again, I have no investors. This is a bootstrap company. So I was very humbled by how much everything cost, and I had to pivot, and I ended up finding a very busted 1967 Shasta camper. Ended up renovating that, and I became a mobile storefront. So that was my original storefront.
Okay, hold on. So you quit the restaurant, Fig, and then you went on your own? Or you were like researching while you were there?
I was researching and trying to figure out what I wanted to do while I was there. And then finally I was like, if I do it, I've got to do it. And so I ended up quitting Fig, and then Wentworth and Fenn was full-time. The camper, we did festivals, pop-ups at breweries, especially when COVID started to like going into neighborhoods and just selling because, nothing was open. I had a commercial kitchen up in Concord at Gibson Mill, which was just a commercial kitchen. So it was easy just to have the camper, bake everything, travel around, sell, come back. Do the same.
So what year did you start the camper?
I started the bakery in 2017. The camper was up and running by 2018. Had the kitchen in Concord, and then I knew most of my clients were down here in Charlotte anyway. Between custom cakes and all the events I was doing, it didn't make sense to stay in Concord. And so I was trying to find a spot where I could exist and eventually open up a full-blown storefront, and camp was always kind of on the radar, but then it was not what it is today. It was still developing, still kind of scary to to come out here. But I was like, the vision that I have would not fit in like a strip mall, or if there's like a Harris Teeter down the way. It's not going to be what I want. And so I just pulled the trigger, and I was like, well, here we go. The storefront, what we're sitting in now, this was never here. So it was just this part in the kitchen. And of course, COVID started, and I was like, something bad's going to happen. And so I panicked and got everything moved from Concord down here. And then the next day, Cooper shut everything down. So it was like, so we got everything in here situated, but then we couldn't serve. So we did to-go pastry boxes for almost a year that were themed, just to stay afloat, and then custom cakes. People were thankfully ordering because everyone had to stay at home. And then 2021, I decided that I would go ahead and get the pastry cart built, and we would see how it would do as an actual storefront. And from there, we've just been snowballing. It was too small, and so I was like, we need to open it up and expand the storefront itself. And due to that, I couldn't be pulled in more directions. And so I ended up selling the camper. And just focusing on this, which has been, for me, a good move.
What are some things that you learned getting this location, this storefront up and going? Anything like about brick and mortar that you didn't know, the permitting, anything? Is there anything that you learned, maybe for somebody listening that wants to open up a business or a storefront, or leases, or anything like that? Getting attorneys involved. I don't know. Is there anything that you learned that?
Just because you build it doesn't mean they will come. Camp. There's so many factors that go into owning a business, and especially a small one where you're the one with all the hats. Marketing is very important. If you have the financial resources to put into a PR company, do it. And then I also actually said this to one of my front of house guys this weekend. I thought I could do everything, and I couldn't. I should, because at that time I was baking and I was the storefront person. The person who was working with me was helping me bake and was also the storefront person. But looking back, had I just hired a full-time storefront person, things probably would have streamlined more effectively. Because I was just stretched too thin. Forecasting, you can do it as much as you want, but nothing's guaranteed. Definitely look into where your setting is. Like, I can only speak from here at camp.
Sure.
It's extremely difficult to forecast this, like, foot traffic. There are Wednesdays and Thursdays that are dead. But then there's some Wednesdays and Thursdays where no one knows what's happening because, like, I'm in a group message with other tenants here. Everyone's like, what's happening? Why are we so busy? And everybody's like, I don't know, but we'll take it. It's great. Like,
Wow.
Wonderful. Weekends are normally pretty good, just because there are events here. And,
yeah.
You know, people, I mean, camp isn't the place that you just wander into. Like, you kind of have to come here with intention.
Sure.
It's getting better now that this side of town is growing.
Yep.
But weekends tend to be better. But again, too, like, Charlotte's a big sports city. So on Sundays, like, if there's
something going on,
football or soccer, half the time it's dead here because everybody's at the stadium.
Sure.
So it's so hard to forecast. But I guess really do your homework on your surroundings, but have a plan B, like our plan B, because I'll be honest, there are days we lose money with the storefront. But because we have the custom cake orders and the private orders and wholesale orders, that makes up on the back end for losing money in labor and in overhead on the front side. So there's a constant juggling act, but that's how it works for here.
Well, listen, I think in any business, Sam, having multiple silos of ways to create income
is
like
necessary.
100%. I mean, I think even if you're a restaurant, having a little bit of catering, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Right? If you have 3-4 caterings a week, it can make up for a slow Wednesday lunch.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
so I think, having a second option, a third option to be able to create income, I think it's smart. You know, why? So love it. Okay. So more about the bakery. Let's talk about it. You know, what are some favorites? What are some of your favorites? Is the menu constant? You know, give us a little bit more insight as far as, Wentworth and Fenn.
So small seasonal menu,
Okay.
Where it is 6 to 7 items that are constant for about a month and a half.
Okay.
But we also have our staples, which we always have, which are the bourbon butter oatmeal cream pie, dark chocolate chunk cookie, and the salted caramel bread pudding. So always have those 3. We'll rotate out the seasonal menu because we use a lot of stuff from Fresh List, which supports local farmers and makers. And then there's where me and Charlotte get bored and we just want to make certain things. So it's chef's choice. And typically the menu is really what you'll find Wednesdays and Thursdays, but weekends, there are all kinds of stuff.
Whatever?
All kinds of stuff.
Okay.
Which we like to do, and we do have regulars, so it keeps it not so monotonous for them, which is nice.
Okay.
And this past, I guess January, I finally got a cold case.
Okay.
So now we have cakes by the slice. We've definitely branched our menu out more to have more gluten-free options, vegan options. I feel like the pastries have definitely elevated since we've gotten the cold case because we can actually hold nicer things, more entremet style pastries and stuff like that. But I feel like some of the things that are slept on, which people don't really know, we do a lot of savory pastries.
Okay.
Which it's funny, me and Charlotte actually prefer more savory pastries.
Okay.
So we do bialys, which are like a bagel. We do a lot of breakfast sandwiches. We do English muffins. We do biscuit specials. We do a ton of savory danishes and croissants. And I feel like the savory pastry isn't. There's not a lot in Charlotte. So if that's your thing, Charlotte. Y'all come on out.
Come by.
Yes.
What is your favorites?
I like the savory stuff.
You're one now whether you carry it or not. What is Sam's favorite pastry?
Okay.
You know, like 1 or 2 things that you're like, okay, like these are the things that I love just personally.
So overall pastry, I love a Napoleon.
Okay.
Love a Napoleon. For those who don't know, it's layers of puff pastry and diplomat cream. Normally they're just held cold, so it's soft and it kind of squishes out when you eat it. I like them frozen. It's just a me thing.
Okay.
Now here, because I like doing laminated doughs, which is like croissant dough or Danish dough.
Okay.
I made a like antipasto kind of Danish. So it was olives and sopressata and like the hard meats and all the olives and some cheese. It was such a good pastry. And it was so, like, again, Charlotte, the city, does not like what is uncommon.
Sure.
But they didn't sell. I was so sad. I was like, this is one of the best Danishes I've ever had in my life. And it just didn't sell. But it was so good.
Okay.
So good. Yeah. I'll take all the savory pastries.
Love it. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the future as we wrap up. Where do you see things going? Obviously, it sounds like you have some goals and things that you want to, like the wine room thing. Mm-hmm. Is that something in the future we can be looking forward to?
So I actually just closed a second location that I had, which was a great learning experience.
Congratulations.
I'm okay with it having not worked out because I learned a lot, and I actually.
Oh, so it didn't go through.
It happened. I was there for almost 9 months.
Okay.
We were losing money and stuff, which.
You closed.
I closed it, not closed on it.
I thought you closed on it, which is why I clapped. Okay.
Well, no, I clap. That's fine. I'm glad. I learned a lot.
You're like, what a psycho this guy is. He's congratulating my.
No, it's fine.
I thought you were saying you closed on a second location.
No, you're
okay.
fine. I'm glad that we did.
Okay.
Because I learned a lot. I was stretched too thin. Certain things,
Sure.
if it happens in the future, which
Sure.
it very well may, I know what I want to do with that now.
Okay.
For right now, I just really want to dial in here
Sure.
and keep making this location better.
Yep.
I want to continue to elevate the pastries. There's a few of us in the city of Charlotte, like I feel like that shock the core of the food that people eat.
Okay.
And sometimes people don't know how to take it.
Okay.
And I feel like we're one of the bakeries and pastry chefs that do that in Charlotte. Like people come and they're like, I don't know. And we're like, just try it.
Yeah.
So I want to keep elevating.
Just so you know, that's me, by the way. I am not adventurous when it comes
You gotta try it.
Hold on. I'm getting better.
Yeah.
But that, so I totally get it. You know what I mean? But you know what? I think it's good to have people like yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to a waiter actually at Del Frisco's a couple months ago when I went, and he worked for Trey that used to have Custom Shop and now has Flower Shop. So they're a client of mine, and he was telling me like 24 years ago, he introduced squid ink pasta to Charlotte, and he didn't know if he was like, man, I don't know if this is gonna take. Like the waiter was telling me this. Now it ended up kind of working out, but it's like the same thing. Like kind of like what is the community willing to kind of take and try and embrace? And so I kind of see what you're saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and again, our best seller is a bourbon butter oatmeal cream pie. The basic, more familiar things sell,
Sure.
and that's fine.
Sure,
we'll always have that. But if someone wants something that's super weird with all the olives and cheese and za'atar and whatever else on it, odds are, come here, we have it.
I love it.
But yeah, I really just want to keep snowballing this, and then eventually, maybe I will do the wine part. Maybe we will. I don't know. Camp is ever evolving. Maybe we'll expand that way next. And
hey,
you never know. So just always goals.
I love that. Well, this was awesome.
Yeah, no, thank
honestly,
you for having me.
I feel like, and we just met, but I feel like we could talk for like 2 more hours.
Yes, for sure.
So, listen, guys, if you're in anywhere remotely close to Charlotte or the suburbs, Ballantyne, Indian Land, Gastonia, Mooresville, Salisbury, where we're from, come down, check these guys out. Be intentional, make it a date night, make it walk around Camp North End.
Camp is cool, so
it's awesome. I haven't been here in a little while, and I'm like, hold on, this is like.
It's a very fun place to explore, and just a side note, it is all small businesses, so it's literally a hub of small businesses. Just
nothing corporate.
I mean, there's like software companies on the front side, but that's not retail type stuff. But stuff that you can come and purchase.
And that's intentional? Mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah, Camp North End was built on the idea that small businesses could coexist and survive in one compound, so that way the people could actually literally come support small business. So
I love that.
It's really cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a fan. Listen, go follow these guys. Wentworth and Fenn, Sam, come try things out for real. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. I'm looking forward to coming, to be honest with you. But anyway, that was episode 11, season 3. Pumped to have you guys on. Like, subscribe, share, comment, the whole thing. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.
The restaurants you love, the food you crave, and the people that make it all happen. We tell their stories on the Paper Trails podcast with Albemarle Paper Supply.